if you've watched Spencer Lee, if you've listened to Spencer Lee, there's a couple of consistent through lines throughout his career. One, a ton of winning. This guy is one of the best high school, college, now senior level. He's maybe the flag carrier for Team USA. But along with that winning has come some really tough self-reflection from Spencer that he's, fine with sharing. He's, always expects a little bit more of himself. And, sometimes it's merited. And I think every wrestler has their own, these guys are all wired a little bit differently, but it all sort of works together. It's all part of these special ingredients that lead to greatness. You have other wrestlers you talk to and they only see the good in what they did. They don't see the bad. And I think there's a case for all kinds of mentalities in wrestling. But Spencer, after Final X, he beats Luke Lillidahl, and he beats him, let's be honest, it was lopsided. It wasn't particularly competitive. They weren't 10-0 tech falls like his previous meeting with him in November of 2023. But there was never a time in the match where you're like, oh, I think Luke's going to win. It was a no doubt type of performance by Spencer Lee. He got some great attacks. He showed his parterre skill in both matches, getting turns. And at the end, I had the privilege to sit with Jordan Burroughs and Spencer Lee and talk about it. And he said, he's like, I don't know. He's like, he wasn't that pleased with his performance. Now, and basically he's reflecting, I didn't attack enough. I should have shot more. I could have taken this guy, or he didn't say I could have taken him down, but if I attacked more, I could have attacked him, is basically the synopsis of Spencer Lee's, wrestling from himself. Probably not anyone else. And on the one hand, do I think Spencer, if his life depended on it, could have attacked Luke Lillidahl? Yes, I do believe that. But I think you don't need to do much more than watch all of Final X than to see the downside of that mentality, the downside of those tactics. And when you think about Spencer Lee, what he did, he got the lead and he basically said, all right, come and get it, Luke. You're going to have to take it. You're going to have to come, get your hands on me and take me down. And you're going to have to do it multiple times, or you're going to have to turn me. So come on and do it. And Luke really couldn't even get to the point where he could get those attacks off. And so he wins. And you can't win the world title at Final X. It's impossible. You can't do it. You could maybe be at your best at Final X, but ultimately, in the words of Coach, the great Terry Brands, it's a qualifier. It qualifies you for the thing that is really the thing, winning the world title. That is the pinnacle. That is the best thing you can do this year, is win a world championship. And so, you either make the team or you don't. There's no team race here. There's not a dual meet on the line. There's not a tournament going on. You're just trying to get on the team. You either do or you don't. That's ultimately how you're going to be judged. And I will say Spencer Lee is judged on a different sort of scale, right? This is a guy who, when he wins by major decision, it's like, man, something was up with Spencer Lee. But listen, that's the price of greatness. You're judged against yourself. That's just how it goes. Anyways, that was a little bit of a tangent. But you watch all of Final X and you see the downside of a consistent attacking mentality, where we saw Yanni Diakomahalis go 10-0 against PJ Duke, and then he's up 9-2. At which point, what happens if Yanni says, you know what, I'm up 7 in the match that'll send me to the World Championships? Let me just shut it down. Let me stop attacking. And he continued to attack, and then PJ started to score. And score and score. And next thing you know, match 2 goes from a lopsided Yanni win to PJ Duke absolutely running away from it. Primarily, maybe entirely, off of Yanni's attacks. Yanni attacked, PJ score. And it started as Yanni attacked, Yanni score. Right? So it shifted at some point. And so Yanni was pushing to win by a bigger margin, and he didn't need to. Right? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying PJ Duke wasn't wearing on Yanni, and that sometimes we see fatigue results in guys attacking more and more and more. Sometimes you see that. Sometimes you see guys get so tired they start just airmailing shots and it spirals quickly. I'm not saying that wasn't what was happening, but I am saying a consistent attacking mentality seemed to work against Yanni, to the point that, and I think this is evidenced by the fact that in match 3, Yanni said, all right, throw that out, shot too much. I'm going to play it a little bit safer here. And in that first period, he just kind of controlled. He got a point, he got a shot clock, and it's 2-0 at the break, and Yanni's winning. And then we saw what PJ did, the re-attack single leg, and it's a historic, epic moment. But I do think Yanni is a bit of a cautionary tale, and why, hey, attack, attack, attack. Well, it's not always the way to go. It's not always how you win a match. And when the prize is so big, being that rep for Team USA, sometimes caution is actually a win. And now you can always look back and reflect and be like, man, I could have scored more if you're Spencer Lee. But ultimately, the goal was accomplished. You made the team. Spencer Lee is the favorite to win the World Championships in Zagreb, Croatia in September. And that's really all that matters. History is not going to look back and say, man, he should have beat Luke Liljedahl by more. By the way, Luke Liljedahl is ranked like 6th in the world right now. So it's not like, oh, okay, he's a college freshman, he's 19 years old. No, it's a top 10 guy in the world. And you beat him twice, 2 straight. And that was the assignment, Spencer. So while you should always expect more of yourself, I think that's a really good quality in a person and in Spencer. I think in this one, you got to give Spencer, and Spencer's got to give himself a little more of a pass.